Okay, I was asked to chat a bit about night vision, different types of night vision, thermals, and so on and so forth. So, some background here for all the overseas viewers. We've been using night vision, thermals, and so on in our farm safety operations since the late 90s. This video is once again made with the aim for South Africa, so keep that in mind. First point of order, or first disclaimer. Second disclaimer is that because it's South Africa, we have different laws than the US and Australia and so on and so forth. For instance, we cannot legally, as citizens, as civilians, buy Gen 3 night vision in South Africa, nor are shops allowed to sell it to civilians. Importing that same Gen 3 stuff is also a massive issue. It's not an easy thing. Then lastly, or the last disclaimer I want is that whatever I say on here is my opinion, and I'm trying to express it in layman terms. So the terms might not be technically 100% correct, but I'm trying to express what I need to say, or in the message I'm trying to express in layman's terms. So let's kick off. What's the difference between night vision and thermals? So thermal cameras, which people usually refer to as FLIR, forward-looking infrared. FLIR is a brand name, it's not what it is. We are talking about thermal imaging. So thermal imaging works on heat that is emitted by the object. So it doesn't need external light sources, ambient light. It picks up the heat that is emitted by the object that you're trying to see. Whereas night vision infrared is actually, it needs external light sources, some ambient light from the moon, or an IR illuminator or something like that, even a spotlight, because it works on the principle of picking up light bouncing off of the object. Okay, so that's the difference. So people always ask, which one should I get, thermal or infra or night vision? I don't think there's an either or question here. Well, I don't think it's the one against the other. You can't compare. This is like comparing pears with apples. And allow me to explain. So where would I use it? Thermals, if I stay on a farm and I've got very rocky terrain, a thermal will pick up the heat emitted from the rocks as well. Okay, and all the other objects around. So trees, gates, everything. Thermals will pick that up. So if I'm trying to find a criminal at night and he's hiding in amongst the rocks, I won't see him because I'll pick up the heat signature from the rocks. Thermals, obviously, because it doesn't need an external light source, it will be the better device to use in no light conditions. Whereas night vision, on the other hand, then obviously is going to need an external light source. So I don't think you can compare, say I need this one or this one. It's actually a case of both. But as we know in South Africa, and as we know as civilians, the thing that dictates what you buy at the end of the day is budget. It's not something else. So let me chat about that a bit. The issue is people look at what's available and what they see on movies, and then they want something similar. Okay. Keep in mind that the US military, in other words, that what we see on documentaries, TV series, and so on and so forth, shows night vision and thermal imaging from the best, latest technology available. That is usually third generation and fourth generation, which, as I said, in South Africa, you're not legally allowed to buy. But if you can buy that, if you would be able to buy it, you're going to be paying in rands 150,000 rand plus for a device like that. And that's a guesstimate from myself, so please don't hold me to that. But I don't think you're going to end up paying anything under 100,000 rand at the very least, if you get a third generation device, which obviously you're not legally allowed to own. So what then is available on the market? So way back when night vision started, the first pieces of equipment came out with were generation 1 equipment, and we even used that We've even used equipment like that in the Angolan War, um, of varying degree. In other words, there were binoculars, there were units that could see a kilometer and so on and so forth, which still was good technology for the age. But how do I know I'm using a first generation night vision equipment? By looking at the image, first of all, the image would appear to be like a TV, slightly off tune of the station, so it's going to be full of snow. Also, if I take my night vision device and I look at a light source directly, then the image would close up, so it'll be blinded. The light source will blind the image, so I can't look directly into light source with something like a Gen 1. So later on, after that, an improvement came about. They've improved some of the insides, the lenses and the optics and so on. And Generation X, as the Generation Core was born. Okay, Generation Core was one level up from Gen 1. So that gave you some new filters, lenses and so forth. So you had a better image. It would not necessarily increase your range, but you'd had a better image. Then after that came Generation 2, and then Gen 2 Plus. So that's what's available in the South African market for civilians. Gen 1, Gen X, Gen Core, why do I keep on saying Gen X? Gen Core, Gen 2 and Gen 2 Plus. And then also in among there came digital night vision. So the difference between normal night vision and digital night vision is, with normal night vision, you'll have a lens cap on with a little pinhole in the front. It actually says to you that you can't use that in daylight. So if I open that lens, switch it on, and it's daylight, I'm going to pop the filters on the inside. Okay. Whereas with digital night vision, I can actually use that in day as well as night light. So digital night vision as well have been improving over the years. As sort of a separate entity, and you now get high quality digital night vision at a fairly reasonable price. Okay, so what is a reasonable price? Let's talk pricing. So you can let yourself be guided by the image as well as the pricing. That should more or less tell you what unit you are holding in your hand. And I'm saying this because there's a lot of salesmen in shops out there that are trying to sell you the wrong stuff. By telling you they're selling you a Gen 3 piece of equipment, but okay, it isn't. It's maybe a Gen 1 piece of equipment. So if I buy a Gen 1 piece of equipment, I can expect to pay anything up to about 5,000 Rand. Okay. If I buy Gen Core, I can expect to pay anything up to about 10,000 Rand. So that should give me an idea. Gen 2, I'm going to pay 10,000 and up. I'm most probably going to pay 15,000 to about 25,000-30,000 Rands. Okay, and then Gen 2 Plus will be 25,000-30,000 Rand and up, and I can end up paying 85,000 Rand. So the difference between that is a monocular, which is one lens, and a binocular, which has got two lenses. So just think for yourself. If they put all that technology in the one lens, and you put two of them together, you're going to basically end up paying twice the price. Or at least that's the norm in South Africa. So if I pay 30,000 Rand for a monocular, I might end up paying about 50,000 Rand for a binocular of the same specs. There obviously are exceptions to the rule, but that's something that you can use as a rule of thumb when you look at it. All right, thermals as well. You've got your earlier thermals came out, the FLIR, TK Scout and so forth, which limits you in a range and so forth, which you're going to end up paying about 12,000-13,000 Rand. And then obviously your upgraded models that's got an increased a lens and an increased the insides have been upgraded and so forth, and you've also got a better range with these things. You're going to end up paying about 35,000 Rand for a good quality thermal piece of equipment. Okay, then you've got something that you can actually use out there. So anything in the lower price ranges, anything below 20,000 Rand, will give you an okay piece of equipment, but don't expect what you see, or don't expect the image quality of what you see in movies to be similar to that. So there's something I can do to improve my Gen Core and my Gen 1 vision, and that is using an infrared illuminator, an IR illuminator. An IR illuminator is a little piece of equipment, looks like a flashlight, and they sell in the vicinity of about 5,000 Rand. Some a bit cheaper, some a bit more expensive, and so forth and so on. But that is just like a flashlight, and on some of the equipment you can actually clip it onto the equipment, so it's a unit. Otherwise it's a handheld thing. So you've got your monocular and you've got your IR illuminator, which will then increase your external light source, thereby giving you a better quality view on your piece of equipment. So you can buy that to enhance your cheaper models. Question at the end of the day, what is your budget and what are you going to use it for? Okay, so think about that. That's what's going to determine what piece of equipment you're going to need to buy. Because if I want something that can help me over 5 kilometers or 6 kilometers or whatever, and I'm only willing to spend 10,000 Rand, then that's not going to happen. So yeah, that in short is the difference between that. If you have any questions, you're welcome to pop us a mail and we can have a look at that for you and we'll answer your questions. Mail will be down in the description. Thanks. Boom.